Welcome back, Cardboard Warriors. How's everybody doing out there today? So, I haven't done one of these in a while. I've been meaning to. It's just with the move and everything and yeah, finding cards. But I was going through a collection the other day that had a bunch of old Ice Age cards in it. And I came across a couple of cards that I absolutely loved back in the day. I still love today. And I have no idea why they're bulk. That's these two. This one is one I have a little discussion about. I talked about it before in my videos real quick. But this card right here, the Icy Manipulator. So the story behind this is that this was an original alpha card. I believe it was an alpha, definitely in beta, that got cut in Unlimited when they came out with a revised. It wasn't in revised, so Unlimited was the last printing of it. And everybody thought, oh, well, that one's gone, just like the Moxes and the Black Lotus. This is going to be a big deal. And it jumped up because this was a pretty powerful card back in the day. It literally nullified anything that was causing you problems, artifacts, creatures, or land, because back then you could tap artifacts, and they did that. It nullified the artifact when you tapped it. I don't think that works anymore. But anyways, back then you could tap artifacts and stop them from actually working, like Howling Mines and stuff like that. But this is the card that actually kind of resulted in me walking away from the game for a little while. Not because of this card directly, but the guy that got me into the game, who was one of my best friends at the time, he invested heavily in Icy Manipulator. Now this guy, when I say invested heavily, he's like Rudy was back then, back in '94. You know, you go over to his house, he had pallets of Magic cards in his living room, pallets of boxes of like Alpha and Beta, Arabian Nights, Antiquities, Legends. You know, I mean, he was hardcore back then. He saw the investment potential of the game from day one. We used to go over and we'd spend like $10 and buy a pack of Arabian Nights, which back then was pretty pricey, but just to open it and say, "Oh, look what I got," you know, because they were hard to get even back then. Even back in '94, Arabian Nights was such a small print run; it was hard to get. And Antiquities, same thing, you know. You'd sell those packs of Antiquities for like $5. You know, it was the average pack was under $2 or under $3. Like Legends was $2.45 a pack, I think, when it came out. So this was pretty pricey for a pack of cards back then. So I think I bought a beta starter deck off of them one time too for I think it was like $30 or $40 or something. Yeah, but this is back in 1994. Don't get too excited. This is a long time ago. But this card, this was his favorite card. He liked this even more than Power 9, even though he had multiple sets of Power 9 from every set. This was like his favorite card. He absolutely loved this card, and he had a stack of them. This was his big deal card. And when they reprinted it in Ice Age, it went from like $15 or $20 down to nothing, like $2 overnight. It was the first sign of why reprinting was so bad in the game back then, for value of the cards, for the players themselves who wanted value in their collections. Reprints were terrible. So he actually got furious and quit playing because they reprinted this card. He did sell his collection and buy a house, so there is that. He didn't sell it right away. He sold it like about a year or so later, but he still, even back then, he had enough to pretty much put a down payment on a nice house. If he'd had that now, he'd be a multimillionaire, obviously. But anyways, so this card just has a funny story behind it. Not funny, real funny, haha, but funny, ironic, or funny slap, face palm. Yeah, funny face palm. There we go. So this card literally caused him and a bunch of other original players that I grew up playing with to walk away from the game. And without them, it wasn't quite as fun for me because my kitchen table friends were gone. So I was only playing at tournaments and stuff, and tournaments weren't like they are now. Back then there was no like world championships or anything back then yet, so it wasn't like a big deal at the tournaments. There was like no FNM promos or nothing, so it was just local card shop, the same 5 or 10 people every week, type thing. And it was just, you didn't really win much. You won a couple packs or something. Yeah, it just wasn't as exciting back then. So without my friends being there, my kitchen table buddies, I walked away from the game for a while. But anyway, so this card caused the downfall of a lot of Magic players in this area, at least. I don't know how it affected everywhere else, but that was the first big hit, and then Chronicles, of course, put everybody over the edge. But anyways, moving on. Let's get to the actual topic now that we're 5 minutes in the video here. So the two cards that I can't believe are bulk after all these years that I think should be like $10, $20 cards at least, even though they're commons, are both from my stage here. The first one is Tinder Wall. This card won me so many games. This is the ultimate mana ramp in green. If you're running a green or red deck, which back then was hugely popular thanks to Kurt Ape, the great Grape Ape there, this card right here, 1 green, so you can cast on your first turn, and then 0 and no tap, which means you can do it right away. Sacrifice Tinder Wall to add 2 red mana to your mana pool. Play that ability as an interrupt, or pay a red and sacrifice it to have it deal 2 damage to target creature it blocks. And it's a 0/3 wall. If you look at this the way I looked at it, I didn't, the fact that it was a wall actually did come in handy sometimes too, because I could get a blocker out early, and then I could use it to do damage later on. But the fact that you could cast it for 1 green and then sack it to add 2 red to your mana pool, I mean, one, it's a color filter, but also it's mana ramp. It's a free mana right off the bat, So I love this card, and I cannot believe that it's not a $10, $20 card minimum already. I mean, this card is epic. I can't believe nobody's running it. I ran 4 of these in most of my green decks back in the day. Even if I wasn't running red, it's instant mana ramp if you need it. I mean, but I had all the dual lands back then, so even in a like mono green deck, I would put 4 Taigas in there, so I'd have the red just in case. So I would have the ability to sack it to do 2 damage to an attacking creature, or just use it for the red mana. Anyways, that's the first one. The other one is the good old Orchest Lumberjacks. These guys are awesome. This is another just massive mana ramp card. It's a 1-drop, 1/1 orc, but you can tap it to sacrifice a forest to add 3 mana in any combination of red and or green to your mana pool. It turns every forest into a Black Lotus for red and green. It's nuts. This card is epic. Why is it bulk? I don't understand. This should be easily a $10, $20 card. Nope. I mean, if not more. So, and these two in the same deck, I mean, come on. Some Kurt Apes, some Taigas, 4 of each of these. I used to dominate. And so I obviously fireballs and lightning bolts. But you want to build a cool old school deck. Put 4 Tinder Walls, 4 Orchest Lumberjacks, 4 Taigas, and 4, use the pathways now if you can't afford the original dual lands. But, I mean, red and green was such an unbeatable combo back in the day if you built it right. I used to build red and a lot of it's commons. Kurt Ape was a common, Lightning Bolt was a common that wasn't worth much back then. They were worth like 50 cents or something. So I used to build red and green decks and just give them to newer players because they were competitive for $5. You could spend $5 or $10 and build a really competitive red-green deck back then. So obviously you can't get the dual lands for that. But the Taigas were only about $5 or $10 a piece back then. So anyways, when they were still in print. Anyways, so that's my why is this card bulk. So Tinder Wall and Orchest Lumberjack, check them out. They should be worth way more than they are. I can't believe they're not valuable. They're under a couple bucks a piece. They don't even come up on the price list that I look at when I'm going through collections, and that just is astonishing to me because those 2 cards are, frankly, I think 2 of the most powerful cards in Ice Age. I'm hard-pressed to find something that I think is more effective and more usable on a daily basis than those 2 cards. So, especially for red and green decks, obviously. But now with the green ramp decks, I mean, mono green ramp, I mean, when they cycle into, like, modern, that guy right there is going to help. So, and if you're running red and green, both of those cards are epic. You can ramp up really fast without having to spend money on Power 9. It's basically the equivalent of running some Power 9 stuff almost. I mean, you got to wait a turn on this to turn your forest into black lotuses, but they do become red and green black lotuses with this guy. You sack them, you get any combination of red and or green, which is actually a little bit better than a black lotus because black lotus you can only get red or green. This you can get any combination of red and green. It's epic. So, anyways, so thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your opinions on these cards. Did you have anybody get hurt over the Icy Manipulator back when it came out in Ice Age if you were playing back then? And let me know your opinion on the Tinder Wall and the Orchest Lumberjack. I think they're two of my favorite cards of all time. For red and green decks, you ramp up so fast with those two cards. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate everything. Check out the description below. There's a lot of good links. They'll save you money on your purchases or get you cash back. My email address is in there if you want to talk to me about buying singles or sponsoring a video. My actual address is in there if you want to send me something to open on camera. Yeah, there's all kinds of links they'll get you a good price on cards. If you use those Amazon links, and even if you don't buy what's in the link, you find a better deal on there. Using my link, I get a little bit of commission off of that, and it really helps the channel so I can keep buying more stuff to open for you guys. So thank you guys so much. We're almost to 1,000 subs. Can't wait. So close. I can taste it. Thank you guys so much. Check out some other videos while you're here, and we'll see you next one. Bye.